Yo, what's good, YouTube? Zamcro here, aka Scoot, back with the CPC, and we've got Season 7, and we've got a week number 9 match here. And we're taking on the Red Spark Vikavolts, coached by Dolphin Squared, or something like that. He's, he's not won this season, and he's having a tough time. I don't know, I don't think, it's tough to say. Really, I don't understand his play style or anything like that. I don't understand the concept of the way he wants to play and things like that. But nonetheless, he is on our schedule, so we do have to play him and things like that. And he's got a funky squad, led off with one of my favorite Pokemons of all time, Infernape. Infernape, Toxapex. He just dropped Suicune for Toxapex. He's got the Decidueye, Sylveon, Mega Aggron, Azelf, Galvantula, Flygon, Ditto, and the Weezing. Weezing, another Pokemon that I just absolutely love. We've got Clefable, Mamoswine, Greninja, Azu, Bronzong, Snorlax, Emboar, Rotom, Tornadus, Oricorio, and Mega Sceptile. Our team has not changed all season. And our Z-move users being Emboar and Tornadus, his Z-move users being Azelf and Flygon. So pretty cool two teams here. And we've decided to bring Clefable, Greninja, Bronzong, Emboar, Tornadus, and Oricorio, where we've brought quite a bit of speed control in this matchup. I don't necessarily think that we are at a disadvantage in terms of speed tiers, but I don't I've been locked in playoffs since like week 5 or 6 or 7 or something like that. I've been locked for playoffs, and I've been bringing quite a bit of heat. I brought some heat against Styx. I brought some heat against Andrew. I brought some heat against Bacon, and now I'm bringing some heat versus Dolphin. We've got a Trick Room Bronzong, which enables Emboar to go ham versus this squad. If you take a look at it, he doesn't have a switch into fire and fighting outside of Toxapex, which is 2-hit KO'd with Wild Charge, Life Orb, Reckless, Wild Charge, 2-hit KOs any variant of Toxapex, even Wakanberry, which is insane in my opinion. Greninja, the idea behind the squad is to get, I have Greninja with Taunt, and the idea, and Spikes, Taunt and Spikes, and the idea is to get up all my layers of Spikes, prevent him from getting any Toxic Spikes or Sticky Web up, and then make sure that I get my rocks up. Chip his team down a little bit with the rest of my squad. Bring in Bronzong, set up the Trick Room, whatever. I may have to sack Bronzong to do that, but then bring in Emboar and start ripping his squad. And then in the late game, something like Clefable, Tornadus, Greninja, Oricorio can just, put in the work to clean up whatever, Emboar leaves for the rest of the squad. That being said, I guess we can go ahead and dive a little bit deeper into the individual sets. And like I mentioned, our Stealth Rocker, designated Stealth Rocker in this matchup is Clefable. And it's a little bit weird considering Aggron would be his Stealth Rocker, and if we were to lead off with our Rockers, then I would be at a huge disadvantage. But I'm not going to, first of all, if I can't guarantee my rocks up, I'm not leaving myself in versus Aggron anyway. If my rocks are already up, then I don't really need Clefable. It's kind of a semi-check to Infernape. Like I can take a close combat, I can take a Focus Blast, a Vacuum Wave, or Fire Blast, or Flare Blitz, things like that. If he's a setup variant, he's not going to be able to use me as setup fodder or anything like that. Moonblast 2-hit KOs Infernape anyway. And then, like I mentioned, this is my designated Stealth Rocker. Hence my Stealth Rocks on here, and Wish Protect there for longevity. Be able to pass wishes out into Oricorio, Bronzong, even Emboar if I need to. I don't really see myself passing a wish off to Greninja or Tornadus. This team's a little bit more offensive. I don't really have any kind of defense on this squad besides, Clefable being bulky like it is. Anyways, this thing's more of just a set up rocks and then go. Like, I don't really have any value for it. If he had something like, I don't know, just the Infernape and say Flygon left, then I could see myself saving Clefable. But outside of that, I don't really see a reason to. And there's not too much to say about it. I'm EV'd to where that I can avoid being 2-hit KO'd by Infernape, unless, obviously it's like a Choice Band Iron Tail set. Then it's going to knock me out. Pretty much, maybe any Choice Band set could knock me out with like Flare Blitz into Flare Blitz. However, I do have Greninja, which is resistant. I do have Emboar, which is also resistant. And Oricorio kind of negates close combat spam and things like that. Clefable kind of negates close combat spam in itself too. So I don't see him bringing like a choice locked Infernape. If anything, potentially like a Life Orb variant, or probably a Life Orb variant, but not too much else to say about Clefable really. It's just a pure Fairy type, Stealth Rocker, and then has longevity with mono Fairy type stab. So it shouldn't do too much, but it's definitely going to be a key factor. I have to get my rocks up. I don't mind him getting his rocks up. Obviously, I don't mind him getting sticky webs up either. It's not too big of an issue because all of my grounded mons don't mind, like outside of Greninja wouldn't appreciate sticky webs. But Greninja's my designated lead anyway. I can taunt his rockers. We'll get into that in a second. But yeah, I don't really mind him getting hazards up versus me or anything like that, as long as it's not Toxic Spikes. But even then, I don't really mind Toxic Spikes either, because I can use Tornadus and Oricorio, as you'll see in a little bit. So that's going to be it for Clefable, and we can hop into Greninja. So like I mentioned, Greninja being my designated lead, this thing prevents Stealth Rocks, Spikes, and even Sticky Webs from Galvantula, though I don't really want to stay in. Though if he does bring Galvantula, I could stay in since I am Sash, and always, be able to live any Bug Buzz, or like if he was Scarf Volt Switch or something like that, it wouldn't be too big of an issue. I don't necessarily see him bringing it because I have Mammal Swine. Could easily just pick it off with 2 Ice Shards and then defog his Sticky Webs away. Or if he's not Sash, then Earthquake would just eliminate it from the match anyway. So a lot of my team could deter, a lot of his team from coming. But yeah, like I mentioned, designated lead. Focus Sash Greninja. I can taunt, Toxapex, Mega Aggron, Azelf, anything like that. Prevent Spikes, Toxic Spikes, Rocks, Sticky Web, and then I have Spikes of my own. So after I could taunt something like a Toxapex or an Aggron, I could start spiking up. And if he switches or doesn't attack for some reason, or for whatever reason I'm able to get up my Spikes and I keep my Sash intact, then that's phenomenal. However, if I am, destroyed by something and my Sash is broken, then I'm in torrent range and my Hydro Pumps are spitting out a lot of damage. After a round of rocks and just 2 Spikes, I think Hydro Pump with the torrent boost will knock out a Mega Aggron, which is like a max HP Mega Aggron, not like a max HP, max Spadef Mega Aggron. Those things are just too much, really. And then his resistances to Hydro Pump do not resist Dark Pulse, and his resistances to Dark Pulse do not resist Hydro Pump. And I think his only resistance to Dark Pulse is actually the Sylveon, which I have, a phenomenal response to in Bronzong. Anyways, I'm speed creeping in Azelf. That was his fastest Pokemon. I didn't need to speed creep anything else. And I could very well run Water Shuriken on this bad boy, so that, an Infernape can't catch me off guard with Mach Punch or Vacuum Wave. I can always catch it off guard with the Water Shuriken. But I didn't have a place for it on the squad. I wanted to have Dual Stab, I wanted to have Taunt, and I wanted to have Spikes. Like my team revolves around hazard stacking and then just blowing through them with Emboar, and then letting Tornadus and Oricorio clean up. And even if Greninja was able to stay healthy, stay intact, do what it has to do and not die, then it could also be part of the cleanup crew with Hydro Pump and Dark Pulse. So that's really cool. Anyways, that's honestly about it for Greninja. Amazing speed tier and damage output with these utility moves, just too much for my opponent's team to handle, I believe. So I guess we can hop into Bronzong now. Alright. So, like I mentioned, Bronzong is a way for us to check Sylveon, semi-check Flygon, semi-checks Azelf, sets up Trick Room mainly though, and puts my Emboar in position to put in work. We've got Gyro Ball, which pretty much bops his entire squad. Flygon doesn't take it, Sylveon doesn't like it, and then like with my minus speed, 0 speed EVs or IVs and EVs and stuff like that, Gyro Ball puts in a number of damage to all things not named Aggron, Weezing, or Infernape. Infernape, which I have Earthquake for. Can't really hit the Weezing with this set, but if I was like a Calm Mind variant, like Weezing would be bop, so I don't really see Weezing being an answer to Bronzong or anything like that. And we have Toxic on here as well. Initially, that was for Suicune, but he did drop Suicune for Toxapex. I did prep before he made that switch, but then I edited my prep. But I really didn't see a reason to take Toxic off and put something else on. Toxic could very well come in handy versus the rest of his squad as well. So I opted to keep Toxic. I don't know if it'll come into play. It may or may not. Perhaps I could have ran something different, but I'm happy with the squad, or with this set. And with my special defense investment, I'm able to easily avoid being critically damaged by something like Sylveon. And then, like I mentioned, Trick Room into Gyro Ball and Earthquake really do a number to my opponent's squad. And after Stealth Rocks and 2 Spikes, basically all my calcs are based upon, taking my opponent taking Stealth Rocks and 2 rounds of spike damage. Not 2 rounds, but 2 layers of spike damage. And then with 172 EVs in attack, Infernape should drop to an Earthquake, unless it has, quite a bit of HP investment. I don't see it having a lot of HP investment. It should at least be speed creeping, things like Mamoswine, Oricorio, so on and so forth. So I don't see it having like a ton of bulk, but it might have a little bit. And then Earthquake is there to bop that. So that's basically it for Bronzong. It's there more of a tool to put, my Bernardo Emboar into a position to do a lot of work. So let's go ahead and hop into Emboar and check out that set. So our Emboar set is a Life Orb variant. I don't know if I actually mentioned that earlier, but it is Life Orb Reckless with Flare Blitz and Wild Charge. So those 2 moves alone just really rip squads. And then for things like, I didn't necessarily expect it, but there was a possibility that he could run something like a defensive Flygon to semi-check, Flare Blitz, spam, and things like that. I didn't expect it, but it's a possibility. It's always a possibility. So I needed Hammer Arm on here so that I could blow past some of the things that might resist Flare Blitz. However, Flare Blitz and Wild Charge will be my moves of choice pretty much the whole game. Sucker Punch is there if it's like if he's able to fight around my Trick Room pretty well, and it ended up coming down to something like Azelf and, I don't know, a weakened Infernape, or Azelf and Flygon, or, just something that could outpace me that doesn't resist Dark type moves. Sucker Punch could really come in handy. And I'm able to run a Brave Nature and max attack, so that gives me my most damage output possible. And I'm able to run, since I don't have to have any speed investment, I'm able to run max HP and just a little bit of SPDF investment, which allows me to live, a Cleric Sylveon's Hyper Voice. Now if it's like a Life Orb or a Specs or max special attack Sylveon, I think Hyper Voice knocks me out after 2 rounds of Stealth Rocks. I don't think it knocks me out from full, but it will knock me out if he's, if I take a round. If he's Life Orb or Specs, it guaranteed knocks me out no matter what I'm at. But if he's not like an item boosting, or a move, shit. If he's not a boosting item, then I can survive. So 4 attacks and Life Orb. I thought about running Rest on this bad boy, because with Flare Blitz and Wild Charge plus my Life Orb, I take a lot of recoil, like a lot of recoil. And if he was to run something like a Rocky Helmet on something, I would just be having a hard time in terms of recoil. But I really didn't want to run rest on here. I felt like this is going to be a more fast-paced game, and I wouldn't really have to worry about resting up to, put in the work in the late game. So that's going to be it for Embor. The team's kind of built around him so they can put the most work in. But we've also got a couple more threats that we'll go ahead and hop into. Okay, so getting into our last couple threats here, we've got Gypsy Hour Tornadus. And check this set out that I've whipped up here. Now, I thought about running Modest with a lot less speed investment, but if it come down to it, I always wanted to be able to outpace things like Infernape and everything below. So I opted for a Timid Nature despite having a way to increase my speed as if I had a Choice Scarf. But even then, if he's a Choice Scarf Infernape, I would like to outpace that after a Z Rain Dance. So that's really nice. If you didn't know, Z Rain Dance not only sets up the rain for 5 turns, just like Rain Dance would do, but it also gives me a 1.5 times speed increase. And I have the Prankster ability, which is really nice. It allows me to get rid of hazards with defog, because, defog and Rain Dance will have +1 priority, which is really nice. Rain Dance sets up the rain, makes my Hurricanes 100% accurate, which is super duper cool. His only resistance to flying type is his Aggron itself, which doesn't appreciate a Focus Blast. It will always 2-hit KO if it lands. I should say. Or I have to say that. I opted for max special attack for the most damage output possible. Hurricane and Focus Blast are really, really strong moves, base 110 and base 120. So this is a pretty cool set. I like it a lot. I was really hyped to use it. And it's just, with Trick Room and Z Rain Dance, I've got a lot of speed control, a lot of heat in this match. So really excited to try this out, and hopefully it can put in the work. So the idea was that if I can set up a Z Rain Dance, then I could potentially sweep in the late game with, non-missing Hurricanes. Now, I don't really like to run Hurricane or Focus Blast for that matter, but Hidden Power Fighting wasn't an option. It bounces off Mega Aggron, and I've got the Rain for Hurricane, so that should negate any misses and put me in a position to where I don't miss that many Hurricanes, hopefully. But yeah, that's it. We can move on to Oricorio, our last threat. So our last mon, Oricorio. Oricorio's put in the work for us this season. I don't know if we've actually brought the Ghost form all season, but it's time to get a little spooky here and bring the Ghost bad boy. A lot of people have been actually praising, Oricorio's success this season. I'm absolutely blown away by the support it's getting. It's definitely an underrated, undervalued mon, but it does have its place in some certain matchups. I am not the innovator of Oricorio. There'll be more on that in the future, though. I name it Curbs for a reason, and that's something for a different day. Anyways, we've got a Leftovers variant here with Sub, Calm Mind, Roost, and Revelation Dance. My opponent has no Ghost resistance or immunities. No Dark type, no normal type. So I felt like this set could really go in. I actually debated between the Oricorio Pa'u and Oricorio Sensu, and ultimately decided on Sensu. I did change it back to Pa'u, just so that I had more responses to things like Infernape, Azelf, and Toxapex, but ultimately decided, since he had no resistance, that I could bring this set. It hits the Decidueye a little bit harder as well. So, and I can't, if he brings Decidueye, I can't outpace it naturally. And, well, naturally I can outpace it. But, like, with no speed investment, I can't outpace it. But it could potentially have Shadow Sneak anyway. So I didn't want to try to outpace it because it could have priority. I would lose a ton of bulk, and then I would be, what's the word, kind of weak to, a Shadow Sneak Decidueye. I didn't want that to happen. So opted for more bulk instead, and ended up come up with this set. It semi-checks Infernape, semi-checks Azelf, semi-checks what's it called? Wheezing. I resist poison because of my Ghost typing, which is really nice. Ditto. If Ditto tries to copy me, then, like, if I was Pa'u, we would be, resistant to each other. But if I'm behind a sub and he copies me, and he's weak to my own revelation dance. Of course, he can break my sub, but at the same time, I can blow him all the way back. So that was really, really cool here. Infernape, you know, it can't spam close combat or focus blast or vacuum wave or mock punch versus me. It can't put itself in a position to lock itself into any of those moves because of my ghost typing, which is really, really, really nice. I thought about bringing taunt. What taunt would allow me to do is also prevent things like Mega Aggron from setting up stealth rocks or setting up in general. It would prevent wheezing from setting up toxic spikes or throwing off a will-o-wisp or anything like that, pain splitting up. It would also prevent things like Toxapex from clicking haze or baneful bunker, recover, protect, or anything like that, and really put my opponent in a really, really, really tough position. But at the same time, I definitely wanted substitute so that I could set up and avoid being toxic. Last time I brought Oricorio, I was toxic. Now, it didn't matter last time because last time it was always to baton pass my setup stat changes. But this time, it's for Oricorio itself. I can't afford to be poisoned, so I opted to run substitute on this set. Calm Mind allows me to set up pretty much on all of his passive stuff, and then Roost for longevity, of course, and then Revelation Dance. After a couple Calm Minds, Revelation Dance will blow through his entire squad, outside of like a Spadef Mega Aggron, Spadef Sylveon, Spadef Toxapex, so on and so forth. Of course, they don't really threaten me back, especially after Calm Minds, and I can whittle Mega Aggron down because it has no form of recovery. But Toxapex gets Regenerator and Recover, and Sylveon gets Wish, Protect, and I think it gets some kind of Moonlight or something. Does it get that? I'm not real sure on that, so don't quote me on that. Anyways, that's going to be Oricorio, the squad: Clefable, Greninja, Bronzong, Emboar, Tornadus, and Oricorio. So let's go ahead and hop into the replay and see how things go. Alright, so here we are with the replay, and my opponent chooses to bring the Weezing, Toxapex, Sylveon, Mega Aggron, Infernape, and Azelf. And I'm not going to spend too much time on team preview here because my designated lead is Greninja. It doesn't matter what he leads with. I guess the worst case scenario is if he led with Sylveon, because everything else I can either taunt, Dark Pulse, or click Hydro Pump with no real drawback. So let's go ahead and hop into it here and see what's going to go ahead. Like I said, leading with Greninja, and he leads with Infernape. So here, there's a potential for him to be Choice Scarf, and there's also a potential for me to be Choice Scarf, though. And if he thinks that there's that I could potentially be Choice Scarf, then he's not going to want to stay in here. Regardless, though, I don't want to risk it. He may think that I'm just like a Sash lead. He may think that I'm a Life Orb variant. He could think that I'm a Life Orb Water Shuriken variant as well. So he could just hard switch out, but yeah, just in case he stays in and tries to attack or something like that, I am just going to click Hydro Pump. It's a no drawback play, and he brings in the Pex and it does 14%, so that doesn't give me too much information. Hydro bounces off this bad boy, but what I'm going to do here is taunt this thing. I don't want it setting up any kind of weird Toxic Spikes or clicking Toxic or anything like that. And I'm going to take the Scald. It does 13%, so he's got a little bit of investment there. And I'm going to set up a spike here. Now he brings in his Infernape, and since my Sash was broken, I don't want to stay in and take a close combat or like a U-turn or anything like that. So I'm going to hard switch out to Clefable as he goes for a U-turn, and he gets a critical hit. So that's a little bit unfortunate there. He gets a crit. It doesn't really change the game or anything, but it's just unfortunate that the game would give him a crit. It's like it's a preview of what's to come potentially, which always scares me. Early hacks that doesn't matter always scares me for late game hacks that may matter. So here I'm going to get up my Stealth Rocks. I don't care if he attacks or gets up his own Stealth Rocks. I expected him to get his Stealth Rocks up, but he does attack and he knocks me out. So now I'm going to go back into Greninja. I'm going to set up another layer of spikes as he goes for the low kick. Now I was hoping that he would either go for low kick or Thunder Punch. I didn't really expect low kick. I kind of expected Thunder Punch, as low kick doesn't really do much versus the rest of my squad outside of like Snorlax, but even then it doesn't do much. But yeah, now I'm in Torrent range, and I can click a Torrent boosted Hydro Pump here and potentially knock out this Mega Aggron. If he doesn't have any Spadef investment, it will knock him out, but he does reveal a little bit of Spadef investment, so that's fine. He knocks me out here, and it does look like I've lost, 2 Mons in 7 turns. without doing much. You know, he's got all of his mons on field, but I have gotten some information from Toxapex. I know that he probably doesn't have toxic spikes or toxic. I know that his Infernape is likely either Choice Scarf. No, it has to be Choice Scarf, or he wouldn't hard switch it in on an Infernape that's going for spikes, just so that he could U-turn or click close combat and knock me out. He obviously, if he wasn't Scarf, he wouldn't switch it in because I would outpace it and knock it out with the Hydro. And he didn't make a double either, he just U-turned out expecting my switch. So that lets me know that he is a Choice Scarf Infernape. And then this Mega Aggron is severely weakened at this point. So I don't have to deal with Aggron anymore. Its filter ability was a real nuisance. It's why I couldn't go directly into Emboar, and I had to go into Infernape first, which also allowed me to get up another spike. So I'm completely fine with this. He's got a 6-4 lead, but the game is by no means in his favor, you know what I'm saying? So here I'm just gonna go for the Revelation Dance. I don't want him to have, you know, any kind of shenanigans. I don't want him going for rest or anything like that. And I was able to pick up another knockout with the Oricorio, of course. It's the GOAT Pokemon. And he's gonna bring in his Toxapex here, and I'm going to click sub. As he goes for Scald, and he breaks my sub, and that's so weird. It made no sense to me. And then this 17% Scald still makes 0 sense to me whatsoever. At +1, it should not be doing that much. And then he reveals Haze. And Haze is interesting because I could have Taunt, which is something that he should have been wary of. And see, now Scald doesn't break my sub, and that's so confusing. It did 17, it broke my sub the first time, it did 17% after a Calm Mind, and now it's not breaking my sub. So I'm so confused on what kind of damage this is doing. So I can't really gauge anything right now. I don't really know what's going on. I mean, it's not affecting how I'm playing, but it is confusing on, you know, the calcs and stuff like that. Anyways, he's going to predict my sub here. No, it's not this turn. It's in, well, this happens for a couple more turns, and then he's going to break my sub, and then he's going to predict my sub and go out into his Sylveon on the turn that I sub up. And this looks like a choke play, but really Sylveon has the move Hyper Voice, and it can bypass my substitute. And I know that. I'm a veteran player, so I'm going to hard switch out into my Bronzong here. I'm not just going to try to roost up in the face of something that can bypass my sub. And it does 18%. That's a pretty good amount to a Bronzong that's got max HP and a little bit of, a Spadef boosting nature and a little bit of Spadef investment. So he's going to go out into his Infernape as I'm going to set up my Trick Room. And as you can see, he's at 72%. Had he taken one more layer of Spike, he would have been at, I believe, 66%, and he would have been in range of Earthquake guaranteed, despite having a little extra bulk. But at this range, he is in range of my Earthquake if he has no bulk, because I do have a little bit of attack investment, if you remember from the team building section. And if he doesn't have any bulk whatsoever, if he's like max speed, max speed, max attack, then this Earthquake will knock him out. So I'm just going to go ahead and click Earthquake here, and it does 68%. So that's a little bit unfortunate, as it reveals he does have some bulk investment, probably speed creeping, just like things like Mamoswine and Oricorio and stuff like that. So he is able to knock out my Bronzong, but that's okay. He dies to Recoil as well, because, you know, that's what Flare Blitz does. And I'm able to bring in my big boy now. Time to bring in the Emboar. And this is where things get a little bit weird too. He's going to reveal Baneful Bunker, which makes absolutely no sense versus my squad, because, and I understand what Baneful Bunker does. It protects you like Protect does, and in the case of Toxapex, it also has a chance to poison you. I don't think it's guaranteed, but there is a chance. But this is striking me as odd, because I have Tornadus, I have Oricorio, I have Greninja, that can all taunt. They're all faster than Toxapex, and they can all taunt Toxapex and prevent it from clicking Baneful Bunker, prevent it from clicking Recover, prevent it from clicking Haze. So I don't really understand the idea behind this set, but nonetheless, he is able to protect himself here, and I do get poisoned, which is a little bit unfortunate. because I'm taking Life Orb recoil, I'm taking Flare Blitz and Wild Charge recoil, and now I'm taking poison damage on top of that, which is just so unfortunate. But here, I know he's not just going to take a Wild Charge freely, so I'm going to click Flare Blitz expecting his switch out, and he does switch out, and it does 70% to a Weezing. That just shows you how strong Embor is. Weezing is known for its physical defense, and Embor just ripped it. Here I'm going to make a kind of a, not necessarily, I mean, it wasn't a misplay. It was it was a misclick for sure, but it wasn't necessarily a bad thing, because you know Flare Blitz would have knocked out Weezing. It's going to do close to half to Toxapex. It would have knocked out Sylveon and Azelf as well. So it's not necessarily a bad misclick, but had I been able to click Wild Charge like I planned here, it would have knocked out the Toxapex, and that would have taken a huge load off of my shoulders. And Wild Charge was definitely the play there, as it would have knocked out Weezing, and then Sylveon coming in on, you know, all the hazards once again. It would have knocked out, Wild Charge into Flare Blitz would have knocked out Sylveon as well, and same thing for Azelf. But yeah, I do get a nice 42% off here versus this bad boy, and he should be able to Baneful Bunker now, as I do drop to the poison. He should be able to Baneful Bunker here, and I should have probably clicked Z Rain Dance on this turn, but just in case he didn't, you know, bunker up, I could have knocked him out with the Hurricane there. And then predicting his switch here, I should have also clicked Z Rain Dance, as I would have been at full health here, and being at full health means I pretty much win the game. Really, yeah. So this was my biggest misplay in my opinion, and probably the biggest game changer. But the game is still, you know, up for grabs at this point. So I'm gonna go for Z Rain Dance, as he goes for the Pain Split. He gets half of his health back, but I am going to be able to one-shot him with Hurricane it from this range, and now my Hurricanes are 100% accurate. So now I'm pretty happy about that. And I did miss a couple Hurricanes earlier. I did get crit, so there's always a chance that I could confuse him. Obviously, that's not the plan. The plan is just to 2-hit KO him here. But see, now remember, had I been at full here, I would be at roughly 60% right now, so that would be amazing. However, I'm going to go for the Hurricane once more, trying to knock this bad boy out, and he's going to switch out to a Sylveon. I'm going to land this Hurricane. As you can see, this bad boy eats it though. I am lucky enough to land my next Hurricane as well, and now he brings back in his Toxapex. So at 33%, I know that I knock him out. So he's got to click Baneful Bunker once again. And I'm just gonna click Rain Dance here. I don't get another speed boost or anything, but I do have 100% accurate Hurricanes, and it's a roll here. I could potentially knock him out. I could potentially knock him out from this range with Hurricane, so I'm just gonna go ahead and click that as well. And I do 35%, so that's a little bit unfortunate. But here's where the most unfortunate part in the game happens. So he has had a crit. He has had a few missed Hurricanes. I mean, he crit me, he dodged a few of my Hurricanes, and I made one misclick so far, but it wasn't really costly. And then I've made a couple plays where I could have probably set up my Rain Dance sooner and put myself in a position to not miss any Hurricanes, and him not have a sack to Weezing and things like that. But here's the biggest play of the game in my opinion. I'm at 69%. So the only way Azelf can knock my Oricorio out is if he is Life Orb, Choice Specs, Choice Band, or Ghostium Z, Darkinium Z, Rockium Z, or Electrium Z. And I'm not sure if it gets all those coverage moves, but there's a possibility. Azelf has a fantastic move pool. I know it does get knockoff and could have Black Hole Eclipse, or it could be like Life Orb or Choice Band knockoff. I know it gets Shadow Ball and could be Specs or Life Orb Shadow Ball, or Ghostium Z with the Never Ending Nightmare. And those are really the only ways it can knock me out, or like Electrium Z with the Gigavolt Havoc could knock me out as well. But outside of that, if he's not like an item boosting or a Z move, he can't knock me out from 69%. And my play here is the 100% Revelation Dance, knock out this Toxapex, and then Azelf comes in on rocks, and with no special attack investment and no boost, I still do 87.5%, which rounds up to 88%, which guarantees knocks out, Azelf, unless it's bulky. But Azelf is frail. Azelf shouldn't be ran bulky. I wouldn't understand if he did run a bulky Azelf. I did contact him after the match to ask him what his Azelf set was, but honestly, man, he's a salty bitch. He's an incompetent scheduler and battler, as you've probably been able to notice through this matchup. And I don't know, like, he hasn't responded to me, so that's no big deal. He did apologize for being a little bit disrespectful during the match. You guys didn't see it yet because we're only on turn 34, but this is there's 80 more turns left in the battle. Of course, I'm not going to cover all of that. I'm not even going to jump to the end of it. I'm just going to explain what's going to happen here. So what happens here is, if you remember from the team building section, I was able to make this set sub, Calm Mind, Roost, and Revelation Dance. I had Roost and Revelation Dance in my 3rd and 4th spot respectively, whereas normally I have Revelation Dance in my 3rd spot or 1st spot, depending on if I have Taunt, Roost, and Sub and Calm Mind, whatever my set is. Roost, my recover moves are always in my 4th slot, but this week I put it in my 3rd slot. I rebuilt my team on a woman's PC and played during the Super Bowl because this man, like I mentioned, is an incompetent scheduler. No disrespect, that's facts. That's God's honest truth. I don't mean any disrespect towards Dolphin. No hard feelings or anything like that. But yeah, he's a really bad scheduler. We did have completely different time zones, but I was available in all the times that he said he could play. But he joined me like 9 to 12 times or something like that. Anyways, like I said, my play here is to click Revelation Dance, but my moves being swapped and me watching the Super Bowl, I accidentally clicked Roost and gave my opponent the opportunity to click Recover. Had that not happened, I would have knocked out the Toxapex. I would have been at 69% plus leftovers, which would have put me at 75%, which puts me well out of range of Azelf without an item, boosting item or a Z move. The most he could do to me, I think, was 71%. So I would have been able to knock out the Toxapex with the Revelation Dance, and the Azelf would come in on rocks, and I would be able to knock it out also with a Revelation Dance. Unfortunately, I was able I misclicked there and clicked Roost, and this misclick was way worse than the inboard misclick. I don't even acknowledge the inboard misclick, predicting his Toxapex to come back in. But this was detrimental. This causes 80 turns of PP stall. This battle was like 115 turns or something like that. Anyways, I lose 2-1. I do get to the last turn, my last PP turn. I start struggling, and I know I'm about to faint, and I just forfeit the match without, letting Oricorio die. I couldn't let Oricorio die. It did not deserve to die. It deserved to claim this matchup for me and be the GOAT that it is and pick up, 2 more kills. It would have picked up 3 kills in this match. It would have been insane. And, just Oricorio's GOAT. But yeah, it's going to be game. He ends up winning 2-1, like I mentioned, which is a 2-0 win for him. Doesn't bother me. I already had playoffs locked. But it was just unfortunate how things turned out. And during the match, my opponent said, he said something like he could out PP stall me, and I said, we'll see. He could misplay, he could switch out or anything like that, or he could misuse his haze. He could use haze more than he should, and I could eventually stall out his haze and then set up on him or something like that. So I just wanted to play it out in case he did misplay. As you can see, I misclicked a ton of times in this match and made a couple misplays on my own. I made 2 misclicks and 2 misplays. Misplays came with my Tornadus, and misclicks came with Embor and Oricorio. So there was definitely a possibility that my opponent could choke or something as well. So I wanted to play it out and test it. I'm not going to cover all that. That would take, another 10 minutes or so. And that's just not what's going to happen here. And around turn, probably 5 turns before I was PP stalled, my opponent just said, "You lose." And he's been kind of disrespectful, and he takes things the wrong way. If you watched his Rice Bowl game, he takes things the wrong way. Sometimes Rice Bowl was actually trying to help him out and teach him about Pokemon. and he just wasn't having it. Like, he was so salty about his loss that he just took Rizepol's help and advice as insults. So he's young. He seems like a younger guy. He's probably, I don't know, 13 to 16 years old or something like that. So he's got a lot of developing to do. I'm not sure how old he is, but I would assume so. But yeah, it's going to be it. So anyways, Oricourio's a god. I'm going to write that down, put that in the books. Should have cleaned this match up for me and also knocked out the 3% aggron or whatever. So should have picked up 3 kills, and I cost him that. I'm sorry, Oricourio. It won't happen again. But you guys, let me know what you guys thought about the prep and the plays on both sides of the field. Let me know what you guys think about the misclick. And do you guys think I could have won had I set up the Z Rain Dance, you know, a turn or two earlier with Tornadus, and did not allow Wheezing to pain split and take half of my health? I think that was a big thing. I think I could have won had I not made that misplay, and none of this right here would have even happened. So yeah, that's going to be it. Let me know what you guys think. Leave a like, comment, and subscribe, all the good stuff, and I'll see you guys next time. Thank you for watching.